You have been sold a lie. They told you that if you gave them your time you would find freedom. But look at you. You are tired, and the hunger inside remains. Why? Because you are building a house on sand. You are working on the shadow, not the substance. Listen closely. By the time this ends, you will hold the secret that separates the wealthy from the weary. You are about to shift from employee to architect. The great illusion of our time is the belief that the external reflection is the reality, that the title on your business card or the digits in your bank account constitute the substance of who you are. But let me tell you that this is the trap of hollow success. You spend 40, 50, 60 hours a week building a structure that does not belong to you, pouring your life force into a job that treats you as a replaceable cog in a machine, while the vast empire of your inner self remains a desolate wasteland, untended and ignored. You seek the applause of the crowd and the validation of superiors, mistaking these fleeting echoes for the solid ground of achievement, not realizing that you are painting the walls of a house that has no foundation, a structure destined to crumble the moment the winds of economic change or personal crisis begin to howl. The danger is not in having a job, but in allowing the job to define the boundaries of your existence, creating a golden cage where your spirit atrophies and your potential is suffocated by the comfort of a monthly salary that bribes you into forgetting your true power. You must awaken to the terrifying truth that outward success without inner growth is a beautiful fruit that is rotten at the core, waiting to poison you with the bitterness of regret when you realize you spent a lifetime climbing a ladder that was leaning against the wrong wall, neglecting the only asset that is truly yours, your consciousness. If you focus solely on career expansion without nourishing the inner self, you are committing the architect's cardinal sin, for you are building a golden palace upon shifting sands, driving a gleaming vehicle with a corroded engine that will inevitably seize up when you need it most. True stability does not come from the market, nor does it come from the economy, nor from the benevolence of an employer. True stability is an inside job, a fortress constructed brick by brick within the silence of your own mind. When you neglect the cultivation of your character, you leave yourself vulnerable to every external fluctuation, becoming a leaf blown about by the chaotic winds of circumstance, rather than the tree that stands firm because its roots go down deep into the dark, rich soil of self-knowledge. You must understand that the job is merely the stage, but you are the actor, the writer, and the director. And if the actor is unprepared, if the script is weak, no amount of elaborate scenery or expensive costumes can save the performance from being a tragedy. The collapse is inevitable for those who grow their bank accounts while their souls shrink, for the universe demands balance, and it will strip away the false exterior to reveal the vacuum within, forcing you to confront the poverty of your own being amidst the ruins of your material success. Here is the critical shift that changes the trajectory of your destiny. You must make the irrevocable decision to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. A job is a transactional arrangement designed to help you survive the present moment, providing the temporary shelter and food required to sustain the body. But working on yourself is a transformational process that designs the future and unlocks the vaults of infinite potential. Your employer can take away your position, the market can make your skills obsolete, and the economy can devalue your savings, but no power on earth can strip you of the mindset you have forged, the discipline you have mastered, and the resilience you have woven into the very fiber of your DNA. When you work on your job, you make a living. When you work on yourself, you make a life, a distinction that separates the sleepwalkers from the awakened masters of reality. You must view your employment not as the end goal, but as the tuition you pay to attend the University of Life, using every challenge, every interaction, and every difficulty as weight training for your character, transforming the mundane struggle for a paycheck into a spiritual gymnasium where you sculpt the muscles of your will and the agility of your imagination. Consider the economics of your soul. A job pays you by the hour or by the year, a linear exchange of time for money that is bound by the finite nature of the clock, but personal growth pays you compound interest for the rest of eternity. When you invest in your job, you are solving a temporary problem of lack, patching a hole in the roof while the foundation cracks. But when you invest in yourself, you are becoming the person who is capable of solving any problem, generating wealth from thin air and navigating any storm. The fortune you seek is not in the external accumulation of things, but in the internal accumulation of value. For you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you remain a small vessel, The ocean of abundance cannot fill you without capsizing you. You must expand your capacity to receive, to hold, and to direct energy. This is the secret of the ages. The external world is only a shadow cast by the internal light, and if you want to change the shadow, you must stop chasing it across the wall and instead turn your attention to the flame within, feeding it with the oil of study, silence, and self-mastery until it burns with the brilliance of 1,000 suns. But that is only the surface. Now you must understand that your mind is not a static container, but a dynamic operating system that requires constant, deliberate upgrades to function in a reality that is evolving at the speed of light. Just as you would not expect a computer from 30 years ago to run the complex software of today, you cannot expect your old beliefs, your inherited limitations, and your narrow assumptions to navigate the complexities of a new era. You must become a ruthless programmer of your own consciousness, identifying the viruses of doubt and fear, deleting the obsolete files of past failures, and installing new paradigms that align with the vision of who you intend to become. Relying on yesterday's thinking to solve today's problems is the definition of insanity. Yet millions walk through life running on default settings, reacting to the world with the same predictable patterns, wondering why they remain stuck in the same loops of mediocrity. You must deliberately refresh your perspective daily, washing the windows of your perception so that you can see the opportunities that are invisible to the uninitiated, realizing that the mind is a garden that will grow weeds if not planted with the seeds of intention, and it is your sacred duty to stand guard at the gate of your mind, allowing only those thoughts that serve your highest expansion to enter. Before you can accumulate the wealth of the world, you must accumulate a philosophy of life, a robust internal compass that guides your ship through the fog of confusion and the storms of adversity. This philosophy is not an academic exercise, but a practical system of thought that dictates how you interpret pain, how you respond to failure, and how you manage success. Without a strong philosophy, you are a leaf in the wind, blown about by the opinions of others and the headlines of the news, reacting emotionally to every stimulus, devoid of a center of gravity. A strong philosophy acts as an anchor, allowing you to remain calm when others panic, to see the lesson where others see the tragedy, and to spot the open door where others see the impenetrable wall. It is this internal structure that determines your destiny, for it is not what happens to you that matters, but how you internalize what happens. And your philosophy is the filter through which all experience must pass before it becomes your reality. You must craft this philosophy with the precision of a master builder, selecting your values like rare stones, cementing them with the conviction of your I am, and standing upon them when the rest of the world is shaking with fear. In a world that is drowning in noise, where every screen and every street corner screams for your attention, clarity is the ultimate superpower, a laser beam that cuts through the fog of distraction. Clarity is not a gift. It is a discipline, a ruthless elimination of the non-essential, a defining of the non-negotiables that govern your existence. You must know exactly who you are and exactly who you want to become, with a precision that borders on obsession, for the universe cannot deliver a specific result to a vague request. Without clarity, you are a ship without a rudder, moving fast, but going in circles, expending vast amounts of energy only to end up exactly where you started. Clarity acts as your compass in the storm, allowing you to move slowly but with absolute certainty in the right direction, rather than running at full speed toward a destination you never chose. You must retreat into the silence, shut out the clamor of the world, and ask yourself the hard questions until the answers emerge from the depths of your soul, sharp and undeniable, forming a vision so clear that it pulls you toward it with the force of gravity. Your philosophy determines the very fabric of your reality, for the world is not as it is, the world is as you are. A victim mindset looks out at the horizon and sees limits, enemies, and insurmountable barriers, interpreting every setback as a personal attack from a hostile universe. A growth mindset, forged in the fires of self-work, looks at the exact same horizon and sees lessons, stepping stones, and open doors, interpreting every failure as feedback and every challenge as a gift. To change your life, you do not need to change the events. You need to change the lens through which you view them, for the event is neutral until you assign it a meaning. By shifting your philosophy, you shift your vibration, and by shifting your vibration, you shift the events that are drawn into your orbit. You must become the alchemist of your own perception, transmuting the lead of adversity into the gold of wisdom, realizing that the power to define reality lies not in the hands of the external world, but in the silent, sovereign decree of your own imagination. Discipline is the bridge. Now go deeper into the understanding that discipline is not a punishment inflicted upon the self, but the highest form of self-love, the liberating force that frees you from the tyranny of your own impulses. Discipline is the bridge between the current reality of who you are and the glorious vision of who you intend to become, the steel structure that allows you to cross the chasm of procrastination and fear. It is the ability to look your sudden desires in the eye and say no in service of a greater yes, to master the fleeting emotions of the moment so that you may serve the long-term vision of your legacy. Without discipline, you are a slave to your moods, a puppet of your appetites, tossed about by the changing winds of how you feel, rather than anchored by what you know. When you embrace discipline, you are not restricting your freedom, you are claiming it. For true freedom is the power to direct your life consciously, rather than being dragged along by the wild horses of your unbridled nature. You must fall in love with the grind, with the ritual, with the holy monotony of doing what is required, knowing that every act of discipline is a prayer of devotion to your higher self. Trust is not a gift that is bestowed upon you by the heavens. It is forged in the fires of action, built brick by brick every time you keep a promise to yourself. When you say you will wake up at a certain hour and you do, you are depositing gold into the bank of self-trust. When you say you will finish a task and you do, you are cementing the foundation of your identity. Conversely, every time you break a promise to yourself, every time you hit the snooze button or abandon a project, you are corroding your confidence, telling your subconscious mind that your word is worthless, that you are not to be trusted. This internal betrayal is the root of all insecurity. For if you cannot trust yourself to lead, how can you expect others to follow? You must become impeccable with your word, treating your commitments to yourself with the same reverence you would offer to a king, understanding that the most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with your own integrity. Building self-trust is a slow, quiet process, invisible to the world but monumental in its impact, creating a core of steel that allows you to walk through the fire without being burned. The world does not reward your potential, it rewards your execution. For the graveyard is full of brilliant men and women who died with their music still inside them because they waited for confidence before taking action. You must understand that confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It is the child of action, born from the friction of moving forward into the unknown. While the dreamers talk about what they will do one day, the builders quietly lay bricks today, understanding that the only way to turn the invisible into the visible is through the labor of the hands and the courage of the will. Action is the only mechanism that can test the validity of your ideas, the only force that can collapse the wave function of possibility into the particle of reality. You must become a person of massive, imperfect action, willing to stumble, willing to fail, willing to look foolish in the eyes of the spectators, knowing that the man in the arena is infinitely superior to the critic in the stands. Do not wait for the perfect moment, for it will never come. Take the raw material of the present and mold it with the hammer of your will. Life has no finish line, no final destination where you can rest and say, I have arrived. For the nature of the universe is expansion, and to stop growing is to begin dying. You must view your life as an endless construction project, a cathedral that is never finished, freeing yourself from the illusion that there is a point of completion where you will finally be happy. This shift in perspective allows you to find joy in the process of daily building, in the smell of the sawdust and the sound of the hammer, loving the journey for its own sake rather than enduring it for a distant reward. You are the architect and the builder, the sculptor and the clay, engaged in a perpetual dance of reinvention, shedding old skins to reveal new layers of potential. When you embrace the endless construction, you remove the pressure of perfection and replace it with the passion for progress, understanding that the goal is not to be finished, but to be better today than you were yesterday, spiraling upward into ever higher states of consciousness and capability. Purpose is the power station. Purpose is the nuclear reactor of the human soul, the power station that generates the limitless energy required to push through the resistance of life. Unlike passion, which is a flickering flame that can be extinguished by the first gust of hardship, purpose is a glowing coal that burns hotter under pressure, providing enduring energy because it connects your small, finite actions to a meaning that is infinite and greater than yourself. Purpose is not something you find hiding under a rock. It is something you decide upon, a decree you issue to the universe stating, "This is who I am, and this is why I am here." When you are aligned with your purpose, fatigue becomes irrelevant, obstacles become puzzles, and fear becomes fuel. For you are no longer acting for your own ego, but for a mission that transcends your physical existence. You must locate this source of power within you, tap into the main vein of your reason for being, and let it surge through your veins until you are unstoppable, driven by a force that the world cannot comprehend and cannot oppose. Gratitude is not a passive reaction to good fortune. It is the fertile soil in which the seeds of your future success must be planted if they are to grow. It is an active, aggressive focus that shifts your attention from the lack to the sufficiency, from the problem to the solution, creating a magnetic field that attracts opportunities, resources, and relationships. When you cultivate gratitude, you are telling the universe that you are ready for more, for to him who has gratitude more will be given, but from him who has not, even what he has will be taken away. Gratitude allows you to see the hidden gifts wrapped in the sandpaper of failure, to perceive the lesson in the loss, and to extract the gold from the dirt of daily life. You must practice gratitude as a martial art, defending your mind against the invasion of negativity and entitlement, tilling the soil of your consciousness daily so that the flowers of your desire can take root and bloom in the garden of your reality. Life is a chaotic, unpredictable ocean, and to navigate it, you need both the adaptability of the sail and the resilience of the hull. Adaptability is the willingness to adjust your methods, to catch the shifting winds of change, to let go of the rigid plans that no longer serve you, and to flow like water around the obstacles in your path. Resilience is the strength to hold firm to your core values, to withstand the crashing waves of rejection and failure without cracking, to absorb the blows of fate and remain standing. You must cultivate both the flexibility to change and the strength to endure, becoming a paradox of softness and hardness, yielding yet unyielding. When the storm comes, and it always comes, the rigid tree snaps, but the bamboo bends and survives. You must be the bamboo, rooted deeply in your philosophy but dancing with the wind, using the very force that seeks to destroy you as the momentum to propel you forward. Instead of waiting for favorable conditions, the master of reality decides to become the wind, ceasing to be a thermometer that merely reflects the temperature of the room and becoming the thermostat that sets it. Reactive people wait for the perfect weather, for the right mood, for the economy to improve, for the stars to align, handing over their power to external circumstances. Proactive individuals create their own weather, bringing their own sunshine to a cloudy day, their own fire to a cold situation, their own order to chaos. You must realize that you are the operant power, the cause and not the effect, and when you walk into a room, the energy should shift because you have entered. Stop asking the world for permission to be great. Assume the state of greatness, generate the feeling of success, and force the world to reshape itself around your conviction. You are not a victim of the environment. You are the creator of the environment, and it is time you took your place at the helm. But here is what changes everything. Leadership is not about the title on your door or the size of your office. It is about the invisible burden of influence, the sacred responsibility to serve the collective interest above the self. True leadership is a spiritual weight, a cross you carry willingly, becoming the anchor in the storm for those who are drifting and the compass for those who are lost in the darkness. It is the willingness to eat last, to take the blame when things go wrong and to give the credit when things go right, to be the steady hand that calms the trembling of others. You cannot lead others further than you have led yourself, which is why the work on the self is the prerequisite for all authority. You must conquer the territory of your own mind before you can hope to conquer the marketplace. When you accept the mantle of leadership, you are accepting a higher standard of living, a life where you are constantly watched, constantly tested, and constantly called to rise, becoming a living example of what is possible when a human being aligns with their highest potential. Your business, your career, your creative endeavors are nothing more than a giant mirror reflecting the contents of your own soul, amplifying your habits, your discipline, and your character flaws for all the world to see. You cannot hide from your business, for it will ruthlessly expose where you are lazy, where you are fearful, and where you are undefined. It is the ultimate feedback loop. To grow your business, you must first grow yourself, for the company can never outgrow the maturity of its leader. If you remain small, your empire will remain small, or it will crush you under the weight of its own expansion. You must look into the mirror of your entrepreneurship without flinching, identifying the cracks in your own reflection, and healing them through the relentless work of self-improvement. The bottleneck is always at the top of the bottle. You are the limit on your own success, and until you expand your internal capacity, your external results will remain capped by the ceiling of your current level of consciousness. Legacy is not what is left at the end of the life, a dusty monument visited by strangers. Legacy is carved every single day through the choices you make, the words you speak, and the actions you take when no one is watching. It is the intangible imprint of your character stamped upon the hearts of those you touch, the energetic signature you leave in the room after you have exited. You are writing your eulogy right now, sentence by sentence, with every interaction and every decision, building a monument not of stone, but of influence. When you live with legacy in mind, you are forced to live with higher standards in the present, knowing that everything matters, that nothing is trivial, that you are setting a precedent for those who come after you. You must ask yourself daily, if this day was the only evidence of my life, what would it say about who I was? And let that question drive you to excellence. True immortality is not found in the history books, but in the continuity of the good you have set in motion, in the way your spirit lives on in the people you uplifted, and the standards you upheld. Your name may fade, your wealth will certainly be redistributed, but the vibration of your life echoes into eternity, affecting generations you will never meet. When you work harder on yourself than on your job, you are ensuring that this echo is a song of hope and strength, rather than a cry of regret. You are building something that death cannot touch, a reservoir of light that remains long after the candle has been extinguished. Live with the urgency of a mortal and the vision of an immortal, knowing that while your time is limited, your impact can be limitless if you dare to become the masterpiece that the Creator intended you to be. The illusion has shattered. You now know that the job is temporary, but the self is forever. You are the operant power. Do not let this feeling fade. What is the one thing you will change inside yourself today? Write it below as a contract with your future. Subscribe, ring the bell, and let the transformation continue. The next video is waiting to take you higher. Click it now.